Right. So today, we're going to be diving into something pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Um, it's an essay called "The Bitter Lesson." Have you heard of this?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's a pretty influential piece in AI circles.
Yeah, by Rich Sutton,
Mm.
who's a really prominent AI researcher,
Mm.
and it basically challenges a lot of assumptions
Yeah.
about how we think about progress and
Mm.
artificial intelligence. So,
Yeah.
what is this bitter lesson? The title itself kind of sounds ominous.
Yeah, well, the central idea is that the most effective way to advance AI
Okay.
isn't by, trying to program in all of our human knowledge, all of our,
Hmm.
human reasoning capabilities, but it's actually about harnessing the power of raw computation
Okay.
and letting algorithms learn from data
Interesting.
through techniques like search and learning.
So instead of trying to make AI, in our own image,
Yeah.
we should be focusing on
Exactly.
methods that can scale with all this incredible processing power we have now.
Exactly. And Sutton backs this up with some pretty compelling examples from the history of AI.
Okay.
Like if you think about chess,
Right.
early efforts to build strong chess playing, AI focused on, encoding expert human strategies,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get the AI to think like a grandmaster.
Right. And then came along Deep Blue.
Exactly.
It was like, oh, we can just brute force this
Yeah.
with massive amounts of computational power.
Yeah, just analyze millions of moves per second.
And it worked.
And it beat Kasparov. Yeah.
It beat Kasparov, which was like a huge turning point.
It was a really pivotal moment, and what's fascinating is that this pattern repeated itself in Go,
Oh, wow.
which is a game that's even more complex than chess.
Yeah, no, I can't even understand the rules of Go.
Yeah, well, AlphaGo, developed by DeepMind,
Yeah.
didn't rely on, pre-programmed human strategies.
Mm-hmm.
It learned to play at a superhuman level just by playing millions of games against itself,
Wow.
leveraging these powerful search algorithms and machine learning techniques.
So in both cases, the bitter lesson was basically just saying like raw computational power
Yeah.
combined with, clever algorithms
Yeah.
just blew away.
Yeah, just brute force it.
The
Basically.
attempts to actually like replicate human expertise.
Exactly, and this isn't just limited to games either.
Okay.
Sutton points to speech recognition as another example.
Right.
Remember those early speech recognition systems that, tried to program in all the rules of grammar
Oh, yeah.
and phonetics?
You were terrible.
They were awful, and they struggled because language is just so complex and nuanced.
Yeah.
But then along came a completely different approach.
What's that?
Statical methods like hidden Markov models.
Hidden Markov models.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, it sounds complicated, but basically they're all about finding patterns in data.
Okay.
They don't need, explicit linguistic rules.
Mhm.
They just analyze tons and tons of speech data
Okay.
to statistically figure out the most likely sequence of sounds and words.
So it's like they're learning the structure of language by just crunching through a bunch of examples
Exactly.
instead of being explicitly taught.
Yeah, and the shift towards, statistically driven methods really revolutionized speech recognition.
And this is how we got to like Siri and
Yeah, yeah.
Google Assistant and all that.
Yeah, it's how our smartphones can understand us with, pretty remarkable accuracy.
It's
Even
insane.
in noisy environments.
Yeah, sometimes better than humans.
Yeah, sometimes better than humans. And it really speaks to the power of these general methods that Sutton emphasizes search and learning.
Yeah.
They're not limited to specific domains.
Okay.
They can be applied to a wide range of problems, and their effectiveness just keeps scaling with computational power.
So as our computers get better and better, these methods become more and more powerful.
Exactly. It's like having a set of tools that are constantly getting sharper as technology advances. But here's the thing. Even though the evidence for this bitter lesson is pretty compelling,
Yeah.
it seems like researchers keep getting lured back into trying to build human knowledge
Oh, really?
directly into AI systems.
So why is that? Why do we keep kind of going back to this?
I think part of it is it's tempting, you know? If you're an expert in a particular field, it feels natural to want to share that knowledge with AI
Yeah.
to give it a head start.
Yeah, like we're trying to help.
Yeah, exactly. It's intellectually satisfying.
Right.
To design systems that mirror our own thinking processes and incorporating human knowledge often leads to,
Like quicker gains.
yeah, quick initial gains. It feels like you're making progress.
But then we hit a ceiling, right?
Yeah, Sutton argues that this approach is kind of like putting training wheels on AI.
Ah,
It might help at first,
then
but
we never really take off.
yeah, it limits the potential of AI in the long run.
So it's like we're holding it back.
Yeah, he suggests that we need to shift our focus away from replicating human thought processes.
And towards developing methods that allow AI to learn and discover on its own.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mhm.
But how does this apply to other areas of AI?
Yeah.
Like computer vision, for example.
Well, computer vision is actually a fascinating case study
Okay.
because it shows how this bitter lesson has played out over decades of research.
Mm-hmm.
Early attempts at computer vision focused on, handcrafting features.
Okay.
Things like edges, corners, textures,
Mm-hmm.
trying to teach AI how to see the world the way humans do.
Which seems impossible because it's so complicated.
Yeah, and it was incredibly difficult to program.
Yeah.
The world is visually so complex.
Yeah.
And these handcrafted approaches were very brittle.
So they didn't really work that well.
They didn't generalize well
Right.
to new situations.
Okay.
They couldn't handle the messiness of real-world images.
So then came along deep learning.
Yeah. Then came the rise of deep learning,
Okay.
specifically convolutional neural networks.
And then that's been all over the news, right? It's like,
Yeah, deep learning this, deep learning that.
yeah, it's everywhere.
It seems like it's behind everything from facial recognition to self-driving cars.
Yeah, it really has taken the world by storm.
So how does that relate to this bitter lesson?
Well, deep learning at its core is all about letting AI learn from vast amounts of data.
Okay.
So in the case of computer vision, convolutional neural networks are trained on millions of images,
Okay.
and they learn to identify patterns and features
Interesting.
without being explicitly told what to look for.
So instead of trying to tell them all the rules of human vision,
Yeah.
we're just here's a million pictures, figure it out.
Exactly, figure it out.
Okay.
And this approach has led to some pretty astonishing breakthroughs in computer vision.
So this is how we got to the point where AI systems can recognize faces.
Yeah, recognize objects, faces, emotions,
Wow.
even generate realistic images.
It's wild.
Yeah, surpassing human capabilities in a lot of tasks.
It's pretty incredible that we've gotten to this point.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing, and it all stems from this idea of stepping back
Yeah.
and letting the data guide the learning process.
So if we keep stepping back and we keep letting go of the need to teach AI what we know,
Yeah.
what can we potentially see? What kind of new possibilities could open up?
That's a really fascinating question, and that's something I think we should definitely explore further.
Yeah, let's dig into that.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in kind of seeing where that goes.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's a little bit frightening, but also incredibly exciting
Yeah, definitely a little bit of both.
to think about what AI could achieve if we just kind of let go of this need to control it so tightly.
Yeah, and that's what makes this bitter lesson so thought-provoking.
Yeah.
It challenges us to rethink our assumptions about intelligence and to embrace the possibility of something truly new and different.
Well, I think that's a good place to maybe take a little pause.
Yeah,
And we can come back and dig into that a little bit more because I think there's a lot to unpack there.
definitely a lot to unpack there.
All right, so we'll be back in a bit to explore those possibilities.
Sounds good. So you're asking about what new possibilities could open up if we kind of let go of this need to explicitly teach AI everything we know.
Yeah, it's like we've been so focused on making AI think like us that we might be missing out on all these other potentially even more powerful forms of intelligence.
Yeah, exactly. And Sutton's essay, this bitter lesson, it really encourages us to think about maybe intelligence isn't solely defined by human-like reasoning
Right.
or consciousness.
It makes me think about all the different forms of intelligence we see in nature.
Yeah.
Animals solve problems and adapt to their environments in ways that are just totally foreign to us.
Right.
But they're still incredibly effective.
Exactly. And, we often get caught in this trap of thinking about intelligence as this single linear spectrum
Right.
with humans at the top. But what if intelligence is more like a vast, multi-dimensional landscape with all these different peaks representing, different kinds of cognitive abilities?
So instead of trying to force AI into our own image,
Yeah.
we should be exploring these other peaks, these other ways of processing information and solving problems that might be even more powerful than our own.
Exactly. And that's where Sutton's emphasis on, search and learning as these general methods becomes so important. These methods aren't limited to mimicking human thought processes.
Right.
They're about exploring this vast solution spaces, finding patterns in data, adapting to new information.
So it's more about like giving AI the tools to learn and then letting it kind of chart its own course.
Exactly. Yeah, guided by the
Okay.
data and the algorithms.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do we ensure that if we're letting go of this idea of teaching AI everything,
Right.
how do we ensure that it develops in a way that's actually beneficial to humanity?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And it's one that, AI ethicists and researchers are really grappling with.
Because like, what if we create something that we can't control?
Yeah, it's a valid concern, and it's something that Sutton acknowledges in his essay.
Okay.
He urges, the AI community to think really deeply about how to design AI systems that are aligned with human values and goals.
So it's not just about building powerful AI, it's about building AI that's like aligned with our values, our ethics,
Yeah.
our sense of purpose as humans.
Exactly. It's about finding ways to, you know, guide AI's development without stifling its potential.
It's like we're trying to like raise a child, right?
Yeah, it's a great analogy.
You want to give them the tools and the knowledge and the support they need to succeed, but you also have to give them the freedom to explore,
Right.
to learn from their mistakes, and to kind of develop their own unique personality.
It's a tough balancing act.
Yeah. But getting it right could be so rewarding.
Oh, absolutely.
Like imagine the kinds of problems we could solve if we had these AI partners working alongside us,
Yeah.
not just as tools, but as collaborators.
It's a really exciting prospect, and it speaks to one of the, I think, most interesting aspects of AI.
What's that?
Its potential to really expand our understanding of the universe and ourselves.
Yeah.
Like if AI can discover things that we never could, if it can solve problems that we thought were insurmountable,
Right.
it could fundamentally change our place in the cosmos.
It's almost like we're on the verge of like a new era of exploration.
Yeah,
Not with spaceships and telescopes, but with algorithms and data.
exactly.
And the bitter lesson is this reminder that like the most profound discoveries might come not from replicating our own intelligence, but from embracing the possibility of something totally different, something that surpasses our current understanding of what intelligence can be.
Yeah, I love that. And it actually brings us to another really crucial point that Sutton makes in the essay.
Okay, what's that?
His argument against oversimplification.
Oh, so he's saying like we shouldn't try to create these like simplified models of the world for AI to learn from.
Exactly. He says, look, the world is inherently complex. Yeah,
Messy, unpredictable.
it's true.
And if we want to build AI that can really thrive in this world, it needs to be able to grapple with that complexity head on.
So trying to sanitize the world for AI, trying to make it all neat and tidy,
Yeah.
might actually be counterproductive.
Exactly. It's like trying to teach someone to swim in a kiddie pool.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
sure, it's safe.
Yeah.
It's a controlled environment, but it's not going to prepare them for the challenges of swimming in the ocean.
So instead of shielding AI from the messiness of reality,
Yeah.
we should be exposing it to the full spectrum of human experience. The good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly.
Exactly. The chaotic, the unpredictable.
The chaotic, all of it.
Like it needs to experience the world in all of its raw, unfiltered glory if we want it to really learn and adapt.
I think that's a really powerful way to put it.
But doesn't that also mean that like we're exposing it to all the bad stuff?
Yeah.
Like all the biases, the prejudices, the conflicts that we as humans struggle with?
It does, and that's why it's so important to think really carefully about the data we use to train AI systems.
Yeah, okay.
We need to be aware of the potential for bias, for discrimination, for these unintended consequences.
So we need to find ways to like mitigate those risks
Yeah,
and make sure that AI is used for good, not for harm.
absolutely, and that's not an easy task.
No.
But it's a necessary one. If we're going to unlock the full potential of AI, we need to do it responsibly,
Yeah.
ethically, and with a clear understanding of the potential pitfalls.
This is all pretty heavy stuff, but it's also really important to be thinking about
It is, yeah.
because it's not going away.
Mm-hmm.
It's only going to become more and more prevalent in our lives.
Exactly, and it's going to impact all aspects of our lives.
So what do we do? What can we do as individuals to kind of make sure that AI is developed and used in a way that benefits humanity?
That's a really great question, and it's one that I think we need to explore further.
Okay, well, maybe we can take a quick break and then come back and really dive into that because I think it's something that everyone's going to be grappling with
Yeah,
in the years to come.
absolutely. So we were talking about what can we do? What can we do as individuals to make sure that AI is developed and used in a way that benefits all of us?
Yeah, it feels like a pretty big question. You
Yeah.
know, like how can we as individuals really have an impact on something as massive and complex as like the development of AI.
Yeah, it can feel overwhelming, right? It's like this huge technological force that's kind of sweeping over the world.
Yeah, and it's moving so fast.
Exactly. And it's accelerating all the time. But I think, one of the most important things we can do is just to stay informed.
Okay, so like read articles and books about AI
Yeah.
and kind of keep up with the latest developments.
Yeah, exactly. Stay curious, engage with the topic. Don't just let it wash over you.
Don't just kind of blindly accept what we're being told about AI.
Yeah, exactly. Question things. Be critical. Think for yourself.
Because there's a lot of hype out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a ton of hype.
It's easy to get caught up in all the robots taking over the world kind of narratives.
Yeah, exactly. And, those narratives, they can be entertaining.
They can be.
But they can also be really distracting.
Yeah.
They can prevent us from engaging with the real issues at hand.
So instead of focusing on the killer robots, we should be thinking about the ethical implications of AI.
Yeah, exactly. The societal impact, the potential for bias and discrimination.
How do we make sure that AI is used to empower people, not to exploit them?
Yeah, those are the questions we need to be asking.
Okay, so stay informed,
Yeah.
be critical, but what else can we do?
Well, another thing we can do is support organizations and initiatives that are working to make AI more ethical and beneficial.
So donate to research groups or advocacy groups that are focused on AI alignment and safety.
Yeah, exactly. Or get involved in policy discussions, write to your elected officials.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Let them know that this is something you care about.
Because ultimately, these technologies are going to be shaped by the decisions that our leaders make.
Exactly. So we need to make sure that those decisions are informed by ethical considerations.
So it's not just about the technical stuff. It's also about the social and political dimensions of AI.
Yeah, it's all interconnected.
We need to think about AI holistically.
Yeah, absolutely. And, another thing we can do is just to be mindful of how we're using AI in our own lives.
Oh, okay. So being aware of the AI-powered technologies that we're interacting with every day?
Yeah, exactly. Like the algorithms that are curating our news feeds,
Right.
the facial recognition software that's being used in public spaces.
The voice assistants that are listening to our conversations.
Exactly. All of that, we need to be aware of how these technologies are being used.
And make informed choices about how we interact with them.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're not comfortable with something, don't be afraid to opt out.
Right.
Or to speak up and say, hey, this isn't right.
So it's about taking responsibility for our own digital lives.
Yeah, exactly. And, at the end of the day, I think it all comes down to this idea of being engaged citizens, not just passive consumers of technology.
So it's about educating ourselves, speaking up, making informed choices, supporting organizations that are aligned with our values.
Yeah, exactly. It's about shaping the future of AI together.
That's a great message to end on.
I think so.
This has been such a fascinating conversation, so much to think about.
Yeah, a lot to unpack.
A huge thank you to Rich Sutton for sparking this whole discussion with his essay, The Bitter Lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. A really thought-provoking piece.
And to you, of course, for sharing your insights and expertise.
A pleasure.
And to our amazing listeners for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Stay curious.